Good morning, noon, or night, wherever the hell you are in the world, and welcome to episode 142 of the 359 podcast with Roger Chang and Ben Fox Rubin. I'm sorry, let's flip that with Ben Fox Rubin and Roger Chang.
Ooh. Look at that. Yeah, we've
big promotion for me today.
I know, and I've decided to just take a step back.
Yeah. Roger was hungover this morning, so I decided to
I wish.
host it.
I so wish.
Yes. So watch me bumble my way through the podcast. Thanks everybody for listening.
And I'm going to be judging you the entire time. So
all right.
extra
Now
pressure.
I'm nervous.
Extra pressure.
Before I was fine, but now I'm totally freaking out. Either way, we're going to be talking about Snapchat again today. They filed, apparently, reportedly, confidential IPO filing. Also, new restrictions on Airbnb and a really cool new app from Google to help you scan your photos. As always, send in your questions and comments, and Brian will look through them and we'll check them out at the end of the show. So that's about it. Let's get this thing started.
All right. And here we go in 3, 2...
Welcome to the 359, where we talk about the top tech news of the day, plus whatever crap we want to throw in. I'm Ben Fox Rubin.
I'm Roger Chang.
Starting off, we're talking about Snapchat yet again this week after reports came out that the social company confidentially filed an IPO, valuing the company at as much as $25 billion. For a little context, Twitter is currently valued at about $13 billion.
Wow.
So, Roger, why would Snapchat be that valuable? Like, why?
It's all about the kids, man.
The kids,
It's
the
kids.
millennials.
Millennials are
the
using
youths.
Snapchat. The youths. The youths.
Is that what they're called?
Look, they're using Snapchat like crazy. They're living on Snapchat, and for advertisers, that's a gold mine right there. And I mean, you make that comparison to Twitter. Twitter's growth has completely stalled.
Totally.
And it's kind of cryptic. People aren't really jumping on that. Snapchat.
People don't understand it as much.
Snapchat, ironically, is also kind of cryptic and hard to understand.
True.
But it's the kind of cryptic that like kids can get into. That's why they like
Right.
it. That's why they're
Yeah,
that's
their
why it's so
parents don't
popular.
get it.
Right.
Their parents don't get it, which is what's kind of awesome about it.
And like to show how old I'm, like I find it somewhat baffling.
This is so, and I know we talk about this a lot when we talk about Snapchat, but how much of a threat is Snapchat to Facebook? Obviously, Mark Zuckerberg knew this because he tried to buy them a couple years ago.
No, I think they're a big threat. That's why you see Facebook rolling out feature after feature, whether through Instagram or Facebook, that mimic some of the features that Snapchat has, right? Like Instagram Stories is basically snaps, right? So
Pretty lame.
so yeah, no, Facebook definitely sees the writing on the wall. I mean, it's still by far the largest social network out there, but they must see that younger audiences are looking at Snapchat as their primary tool for communication.
I can't wait for more competition for different tech companies to waste my time in new ways. So here comes Snapchat. Next up, San Francisco tightened its laws involving Airbnb, saying folks can only rent their place for 60 days a year. That follows more rules against the home rental service in New York City too. So it seems like it's getting harder to do Airbnb.
Yeah, it's interesting because I've done Airbnbs out like in Europe and in Asia, and like it's practically a business. Like no one lives in those homes, that they're renting out. They're just continually renting them out through Airbnb, and that's how Airbnb works. So to limit it to like 60 days in SF, that's a big blow. Already in New York, you
wouldn't be able to like buy it as a rental home specifically for Airbnb.
Right, which is what a lot of people do, and what city's trying to crack down on.
Right, because it's basically taking more housing stock out of the rental market, which for SF and New York, obviously they're very mindful of that.
Oh yeah. I mean, in New York, it's tough, right? You can't even rent out the place. I think you can rent out a room. I think legally.
God, I don't know. It's getting more and more complicated, which is making it harder to do Airbnb. So last, Google introduced a new Android and iOS app called Photoscan, which lets people scan pictures, even if they're in a frame or an album, making it easier to preserve old photos.
Yeah.
Roger, do you think you'd be using this?
I think I will be using this constantly over the holiday season. My wife has been bugging me about scanning her old family photos for like the last 2 years at this point.
This sounds
it's like a
I know
huge
what
collection.
That's like.
And I mean, the idea of having to put a photo in a flatbed scanner, scan it, and then just replace it, constantly do that. It's just so tedious. I tried out the app yesterday actually, and it's really simple. It's basically you kind of connect the dots. There are 4 dots you kind of line your phone next to, and it's not super precise. You
4 dots on the corner of the photo.
Well, they're sort of like, they're kind of, they're on each side. It's not exactly the corner. Like I said, you don't have to be super precise about it. And Google says that, within 10 minutes, you can actually scan 100 photos. And I kind of believe it because it's a
That's pretty sweet.
dead simple way to do it.
Okay. Well, if you want to read more about these stories, check us out on CNET. I'm Ben Fox Rubin.
I'm Roger Chang.
Thanks for listening.
All right.
I survived.
You did it.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
I know.
Well
Captain.
done. Well done.
Well done,
I
sir.
can finally step back and just retire.
You're pretty good. You're a pretty good color guy.
Yeah,
You're in good color commentary over there. So
There's a lot of big Snapchat fans in the chat.
Yeah.
Obviously, everywhere.
we will be talking, I feel, a lot more about Snapchat. We talked
Absolutely.
about them twice this week, and they're just a very interesting company. I will admit I'm trying to use them more often. I tend to live a little bit more often on Twitter, but that is getting a little stale for me now.
The problem with Snapchat, especially for folks like us who are on to kind of promote our stories, to have sort of a large social awareness or presence, is Snapchat gives you no indication of that, right? It's sort of a one-to-one communication tool, and you can broadcast your snaps, but you have no idea if anyone's actually watching. There's no real measure, so you're just sort of out there.
Yeah,
That's what's kind of freaky and uncertain. Maybe that's why the kids love it.
right. And
But look
at
the entrepreneurs. Look at DJ Khaled. Michael points out in the chat, he's making millions through Snapchat with marketing promotion opportunities.
No, absolutely. Once you get that sort of brand awareness going, and once you have that presence, but if you're starting out on Snapchat and you start, part of it is you're thinking about it from the rules of normal social networks like Twitter and Facebook, where there are numbers and metrics and things you can sort of easily see, right? Followers, but there isn't that in Snapchat. There's no guidance at all.
Yeah. That's why I've seen certain stories where it's sometimes described as a messaging service,
Right.
as opposed to a social network, which it can be in some ways. But that's a really good point that it is still very much a platform.
I think most kids use it as a communications tool first, not a social network. It's something that they use to message back and forth, right? That's how they tell their stories.
Yeah. That being said, I mean, I don't. What are my Facebook posts from years and years ago?
They're
I have
probably
no
pretty
idea.
terrible.
Yeah, they're probably pretty terrible. So,
My
am
first
I gonna,
tweet was just, I don't know what it was. I'm
wouldn't-
hungry or
I
something.
wouldn't be that upset if those things disappeared. I don't really
Yeah.
have much of a use for them. So that is a refreshing part of Snapchat.
It's just kind of funny to me how short and abbreviated all of our communications have become.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone who continues to write books on Facebook, until election season. But
Well,
occasionally,
noted.
what's the length on Snapchat? Is it 10 seconds? I have not used it. I'm sorry, world.
Yeah, that's
okay.
okay.
That's
That's
all right.
okay. This
But
is a
it's
safe
so
space.
short.
You could admit that.
If we keep going in this trend, in 6 or 7 years, it's going to be a new social network, and you're going to be limited to go.
Yeah. It's one word, one screen, one photo.
We
That's
already
it.
had Vine, and we saw Vine was actually pretty exciting in that how much you could do in 6 seconds.
I liked Vine, actually, because you could be pretty creative with 6 seconds.
Everybody loves Vine now that it's dead.
Yeah, I know. I stopped using it a long time ago.
It's like drinking Pabst. It's now that it's crested, everybody's back on it. So,
Moving on over to Airbnb again. What was it before the 60-day limit?
if you lived in the home, I think you could rent it out as much as you wanted.
No limit
if
at
it
all.
was no limit at all. So if there's a house that you wanted to rent, but I think there were much more significant restrictions in San Francisco if you didn't live there.
And I mean,
yeah.
So now it's like 60 days, I believe, across the board, regardless if you're living there or not, which is a pretty substantial restriction for people that used to have that as good income for an extra room or an extra apartment in their home.
Were there incidents that led to this? I mean, what is the rationale behind the limit?
For the most part, what I've seen is that a lot of hotel operators are extremely annoyed at Airbnb because
absolutely.
you're taking stuff that's in neighborhoods, like regular neighborhoods, and adding that to the essentially the hotel
and
market.
you don't have to follow the same kind of regulations that a hotel
Right.
would.
You don't have
Right.
liability.
Right.
You don't have insurance. There are a lot of restrictions on hotels. It's the same exact thing as Uber in many ways.
Yeah.
Where
Right. This
they
is
don't
the
have,
Uber taxi fight all over again.
Right, but they don't have the same regulations piled on top of them as the taxis
I mean,
or as a
it
hotel.
is like the Uber fight, except when you add in housing, as we said on the call, in cities like New York and SF, where housing and real estate is such a precious commodity, that is
Right.
like this added stress level, right? Like,
Yeah, every Airbnb that I've used has been like in the sticks, like
Right.
up north in New York or in Connecticut.
But yeah, it's the idea that
Massachusetts.
if you're some guy, if you own a bunch of apartments and you're just renting them out on via Airbnb for like some super inflated price, like that's taking away an opportunity for someone who actually lives in New York to have an apartment, right?
That's true. Oh, I did use Airbnb once when I was in Greece when we were reporting there over the summer.
Never stop talking about that, do you?
And it was when was the last time I brought that up? And it was like super easy. The guy, gave us the apartment, and it was a lot more enjoyable. It felt a lot more like home than finding a hotel last.
That was definitely my preferred way. Like when we used to go to Barcelona every year for Mobile World Congress, before it got organized and we had hotel rooms, it was Airbnb year after year, and I loved it. It was great. Like the people were super nice, and a lot of them were. A couple of them were actually just sort of renting them out as a test. It wasn't a business yet for a lot of them, and so it was kind of nice to get that experience.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of hotel rooms outside of like boutique hotel rooms. They just feel a little too, just I don't know, impersonal. So I tend to prefer Airbnb, but at the same time, I understand.
I mean,
why
when you're there
hotel-
for a long stay, at the same time, if you're visiting a place on the fly, and you're going to spend all of like your 5 to 6 hours of sleep in the hotel room.
Yeah,
that's true.
What difference does?
Well,
that
especially if you're a family and if you got a kid, like having actual home amenities is it's just so much nicer. Like an actual refrigerator, a microwave, things like that.
A washing machine.
Here's a good question expanding on it, but it might be a little bit out of our wheelhouse. Do you guys know of any laws that help ensure that Airbnb places are up to a certain standard of quality? Anything like that in New York specifically? And I got to say, I have no clue. I've never used Airbnb, and
I don't think so.
Don't have a lot of
I doubt it. I mean,
law background outside of media.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the only thing that would govern the quality of an Airbnb unit are user comments. You can complain to Airbnb if, like, say, the apartment doesn't match the photos that you'd see when you're searching for it. So that would be the only. I don't think there's like any kind of law that would like set a standard for minimum quality for an apartment or for a unit.
Yeah, I don't know. I know that there are more restrictions coming up to try to at least get them at the same level in some ways to hotels, so that there is a certain level of liability. Like if I broke my leg in an Airbnb, who's liable? You know? So I think that a lot of this stuff is still being worked out.
That is a fantastic question, though. Thank you for submitting that. If anybody does have any input on this, please add it to the comment section. In the video at any time. I think we're all kind of curious about that. That is a very interesting thought.
Yep, definitely.
Cool. Let's talk about Photoscan and how friggin' cool this is.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm knee deep in trying to digitize family vacation photo albums from decades
ago. It actually kind of reminded me that I hadn't backed up my photos to Google Photo in a while, and I turned it on today, and I had apparently 27,000 photos that still need to be uploaded. So I was like, all right, setting this on, and I'm walking off. So. I mean, the thing is awesome, and it's
looks super easy.
I'm not sure how effective it is on an actual, like, when it's in a frame where there's a glass and there's a glare. I haven't tested that out yet, but just like taking a photo.
Looks like Bridget's had pretty good results here.
Yeah. So the idea is it takes multiple shots and images and merges the best of them, and it like auto straightens everything and crops out like the frame or the album. So you have a pretty good digital approximation of your print, your photo. So
is there like this sounds really nice, but I'm curious, is there like a sneaky or a cynical reason for Google to provide this? Like, do they want to get you, suckered or stuck into their world of Google Photos because like maybe they get you to pay more the monthly fee or whatever?
I think the key thing here is like if you're using Google Photos, you're using the Google ecosystem, you're more likely to be using Gmail and Calendar and all this stuff, and likely to use Android, in which they can serve you ads for. And so it's to get you further stuck into this ecosystem, right?
That makes sense.
I don't know if it's nefarious. I think every company does it, right?
I wanted to.
There's Apple.
It sounds so nice. I just kind of wanted to, like, for the podcast, like from a reporting perspective, I was curious to look at the business implications of it.
No, absolutely. I mean, the skeptical side of me is, eventually they start scanning the photos and taking the data there and using that to advertise.
Oh, God.
Like,
that sounds bad.
Facebook did it.
Yeah. Well, the thought occurred to me, like, they can scan and they can see like you have a tendency to go to, like for me, Barcelona in February or March. Then all of a sudden they start advertising like in January, hey, last minute plane tickets to Barcelona. Like I don't think they haven't done that yet.
So bad, but
they haven't done
I
it
think
yet.
some people would be a little
I
bit.
think they've been pretty good about the privacy aspect of photos yet, but you never know down the line. Like taking that data, that's what they ultimately care about, right? And there's a lot of data to be had from your photos.
I was looking at it more as if you preserve enough photos with Google Photos, you might end up paying like the monthly fee to actually get more get a higher like data limit or something like that.
Well, you know the deal with Google Photos is it's unlimited storage, unless you want to keep your like your DSLR photos at like maximum quality.
Right.
So I mean, for me, it's good enough that, especially since I take so many photos from my phone, that I don't really need that extra limit. So I'm perfectly happy with the unlimited like compressed version of it.
I've been on Google Photos for a long time.
Yeah.
I'm definitely a fan, and I like, I'm certain that there's some kind of like business operandi going on behind the scenes here, but it's all at the same time, this is just a good innovation.
I totally agree with that. Yeah, I just wanted to touch upon that as well, and I definitely think that this is an interesting
I feel like
new feature.
I feel like Photoscan is one of those projects that it's like the 30% time, or like whatever I don't know if they still even do that. You know, like they spend whatever 30% thinking about non-core responsibility stuff. And I feel like this is like a random side project that just came out of some guy's thought, right?
It's perfect timing for Thanksgiving, by the way.
Oh yeah,
as everybody's looking at photo albums.
It's amazing. Yeah, I'm going back to Los Angeles on Friday, and oops, shouldn't have said that. Now the thieves are going to go after my place, but no. But I'm going to be going back. There are a lot of old photos that I'm going to want to scan in, like all my embarrassing childhood photos. I'm going to put up, and I'll be able to post on Twitter whenever Throwback Thursday comes up.
Nice.
Yeah.
Anybody else out there? Is the app available now?
Yeah.
On
It's built right
Android
in.
and iOS.
Yes, it's available on both.
Sweet. I'm totally going to try that tonight.
Yeah.
All right. That's a good place to cut it.
Sounds good to me.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. The 359 podcast is available on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, SoundCloud, FeedBurner, Google Play Music, and of course on CNET.com. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll be back tomorrow.
We will.
And
Most
that's
likely.
about it. That's
Maybe.
a wrap, buddies.
Maybe. I don't know.
Have a good day.